Well, bakers, I'm going to show you how to make the most beautiful loaf of sourdough in just one day. Normally this process takes a very long time, maybe 2 to even 3 days, but I've sped up my process. We're going to use a little bit of heat to move it along, and you're going to get the most amazing bread at the end. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to wake up early to feed your sourdough starter. So here I have my starter, and I like to feed him around 6 o'clock in the morning. So he has around 3 to 4 hours to activate. To feed my starter, I discard half. I just do this by eye. Then I add in 2 ounces of all-purpose flour and 2 ounces of filtered water. I like to do this step on a weighing scales to make sure it is super accurate. Then just mix it all together, put on its hat. So now here's what I do. From 6 until around 9 to 10 o'clock, I let this activate. It takes around that time. If you want to move it along faster, you can put it on the proofing setting in your oven, or just turn on your oven for a few minutes on a low temperature, then turn it off, pop it in there, and it will just speed up the process so much more. And we're going to be doing that throughout the day. Okay, look at that. A lovely active sourdough. You know when it is like really jumped up, but it hasn't like fallen back. This is perfect and ready to go. During the steps of this recipe, if you don't want to put your dough into the oven, that's totally fine. It will still move along without it. It's just to speed it up and make it even shorter if you want to. Now, into a large bowl, I'm going to add in some strong flour, or also known as bread flour, around 12 to 14% gluten, so it's stronger. Into this, I'm going to add a good bit of salt. You need salt in bread. You know, your sourdough starter is already boozy and kind of like a little bit salty. Just the added salt then in this gives it an extra boost. So into my dry ingredients, I'm going to add in 4 ounces of my active sourdough starter. Now, just so you know, this starter is actually made from my recipe on my website, biggerbolderbaking.com. And I'm very proud to say it is one of the top ranking posts for a sourdough starter on the internet. So means I'm doing something right. So go check that out if you're planning on making your own sourdough starter. It is so easy. And just a reminder, once you have taken from your sourdough starter, make sure to replenish it or feed it with the amount that you took out. So I'm going to do that later. So into this mixture, we're going to be adding some blood temperature water. And by that, I mean, if you put your finger into the water, it's warm, but it's not hot. And if you can't really feel the water around your finger, it means a similar temperature to your blood, which is perfect for yeast and to help it grow and to thrive. Now, you will be making this dough at around 9:30 to 10 in the morning if you follow my steps. Give it a mix all together. Once it comes together roughly, I like to go in with my hand and just make sure that there's no dry bits of flour left in the bowl and that everything is hydrated. Because like with any bread dough, if there's dry lumps, bits of dough that haven't been incorporated, they can stay that way and it can inhibit your bread. I've formulated this recipe to use the exact amounts of everything. So my suggestion to you is when you're making it, kind of any sourdough recipe, is to use the weighing scales just to make sure you get exactly the same results that I did. Okay, lovely wet dough. This is exactly what it's supposed to be like. So here's what we do now. We cover it up with some cling wrap, put a towel over it, and we do a step now called autolyse. And autolyse is basically mixing and letting your dough rest. During this resting time, we're going to do it for 20 minutes only. During this time, it creates the gluten bonds, it strengthens the dough, it smooths out the dough, and it just gets it ready for our next stage, which is pulling and folding. Okay, so just 20 minutes, you're going to see a difference in the dough when we come back. So it's been 20 minutes. Let's have a look at our dough. So as you can see, it's gotten a little bit saggier. Right now, we're going to do a series of pulls and folds, and we're going to do this 3 times, and we're going to let it rest 3 times. So I like to get my hand nice and wet, go into your bowl, get underneath that dough, and we're going to do this in quarters, so you're going to see me do that. Pull that dough, do you see that? Down into the middle. Other side, other quarter I should say, down to the middle. Give it a good stretch. What we're doing here now is strengthening the dough. High as you can, down to the dough. Our last quarter, up and into the dough. So I didn't hear about autolysing until I started doing sourdoughs and high hydration doughs. And it's really a fantastic, simpler method than putting a dough on your machine. You still capture a lot of air. You are strengthening the dough with each pull. It's also just faster and it gives you better results than on the machine, in my opinion. You stretch and pull as much as you can until your dough really starts to stiffen up. And that's when we know it's time to rest again. So we're going to do another 20 minutes of resting, come back, pull and fold, rest, one more time, pull and fold. So that's 3 pull and folds altogether. And for this part of the recipe, just do these steps at room temperature on the counter. And there we go. That's our last pull and fold for the dough. So now our next step is bulk fermentation. Now, this is the period of the bread where it actually develops the most flavor. So I would say a minimum of 6 hours, but I've gone up to also 8 hours. So depending on how much time you have, I would say, the more time, the better. Flavor, texture, everything develops. I will tell you, when I've had extra long time, at this stage, I will actually keep it overnight and bake it off the next day, and the flavor is even better. So whatever timing you have, at this point, you might want to put it into your oven and just give it a little bit of a boost. So I gave my bread around 8 hours and it is ready to go, as you can see. I probably could have done with the bigger bowl, but live and learn. Oh wow, look at this. Ooh, how gorgeous. Joey, get in there and see that wobble. We're going to do another series of those kinds of pulls and folds that we were doing. We are strengthening again. So as a beginner bread baker, I remember, following the recipes for breads, and it's saying, knock back your bread after the 1.5 hour, 2 hour proofing. And I was always worried that if I did that too much, it would knock out all of the air. But actually that's not what happens. It's the opposite. It actually strengthens the dough because you're knocking out the air. You are strengthening the dough, give it strength to grow back up again, grow back even stronger, to hold even bigger bubbles. So it's really important to do that. I'm just going to shape it into my bowl on the countertop. Get a nice little kind of smoothie bottom. Don't worry too much about that for right now. I have a bread proofing bowl here that I dust with flour. Now, if you do not have one of these, please do not worry, because I have for many years used just a regular glass mixing bowl lined with a thin tea towel. Just make sure that it's not a fuzzy tea towel because the hair will get onto your bread. So just give it a good dousing. I have my dough, turn it upside down, seams facing up, cover it in cling wrap, little hat. Now for this period, I do like to give it a little bit of a boost in the oven. You're talking at around a 2 hour proofing period for this. It's quite slow at this point, and we need to give it that extra time to grow. And then also remember, we're still developing that flavor. And this is another really important period where it develops its texture and its bubbles and all those lovely things. So into the oven it goes. So it has been 2 hours. If you feel like your dough could come up a little bit more, honestly, give it a little bit more time. There is such a thing as overproofing a dough, and if you see your dough collapse, that means it was overproofed. But sometimes you can just gauge, you just know by looking at it by touch. It's like, you know what? That dough is a little bit cool. I really feel like it could get warmed up a little bit and proof even more. As you continue to practice to make bread, and I've been making bread for 30 years of my life, is that, every single recipe improves on your skills, every single recipe. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. So our dough is ready. I have a little piece of parchment here. It's actually quite little for some reason. I cut it short, beep boop. Turn out your basket. There we go. It should release quite well because you floured it. There's so many stages of bread making that I absolutely adore, but just look at this when it comes out of the bread basket. It's wobbly, it has this gorgeous shape on it. It's just so nice. Now scoring. Scoring is not a skill that I have perfected yet. I don't think I ever will. So I'm just going to do a big line down the middle, and I'm going to kind of curve it to make it look like it's fancy. I use a Stanley blade rather than what they call the blades that they use for bread, because I don't know, I've always found it so much better. And I think one of the first kitchens I worked in actually also used a Stanley blade. So there you go. So I'm going to Dutch oven it. If you don't have a Dutch oven, I have instructions on my website of how you can do it without it. I also have instructions of how you can kind of create your own Dutch oven with a strong metal bowl and then a baking pan. On with our hotta. Now, I have my cast iron cold. Some people say it's best to have it warm. This is the way I've always done it. It's always worked for me. So right now I've got my oven heated at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 210 degrees Celsius. My bread's ready to go. Let's get them in there. So we're baking our bread at that high temperature for 20 minutes. Once that time is up, we're going to take off the lid, turn down the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 degrees Celsius, and we're going to bake for another 25 to 30 minutes. You want to get a lovely golden brown on that crust. One of my favorite things about making bread is taking it out of the oven and just looking at it and seeing all my hard work pay off. It is so tempting to cut into this straight away, but let it cool down completely before you slice into it. When you make my same day sourdough starter, I know you are going to be wowed about how easy it was, but also how great it looks. It's golden brown and then a lovely, thick, crunchy crust. When you slice it, it gets even better. You see all those beautiful bubbles that we created with our resting and our fermenting and our pulling and our folding. We did that. It is so easy to do. You saw it yourself. And at the end, your loaf can look just like mine. So I know you were up early getting the sourdough started, but it's the end of the day now. You have the most delicious looking loaf and it was well worth it. I make this dough weekly in my house because it's a really easy recipe to remember, and the dough, because it's fermented, actually stays fresher for longer than traditional bread. It's really delicious and everybody loves it. Definitely check out how to make your own sourdough starter on biggerbolderbaking.com and my video, and also get this recipe. You will not be disappointed.